So what would be a scenario where these basic CSS transitions and animations might not be enough? Well, first of all, and that's really important, CSS animations and transitions will very often be enough, but adding them like we're currently doing it, that might not be enough. And here's an example. In our running application, if I click Show Dialog, this modal dialog pops up immediately. It's just there and it's gone when we close it. This might be fine. This might be absolutely the behavior you want. But sometimes you might want to animate it in. You want to have a little animation when it appears, and the same for removing it. And that is the part that will be tricky with just CSS animations and with just adding CSS classes with Vue as we did before, especially when you also want to animate the disappearance. Let me show you why it's tricky. We can go to the base modal, which holds the code for this dialog, and there on the dialog selector here, we can add a little animation. We can, for this, again define some keyframes here and give it any name of our choice, and I'll name it modal, but again, this name is up to you. And I'll start at 0% and I want to go to 100%. And if you just define two styles, two states, as I'm doing it here, you can also use the from and to shorthands, basically. And now here we define the starting state. And there, let's say the modal should initially be invisible by setting the opacity to 0. With transform translate y, I will move it up on the y-axis by 50 pixels. And I will actually also scale it from 0.9 to its final size. And speaking of final, in 2, I now add the final states, opacity 1, translate y of 0 to reach the real position this element should have, and scale 1 to reach the real size this element should have. And now we could add this modal animation to our dialog selector to basically make sure that every dialog we're selecting with that, so the only dialog we have here, receives that animation. And by default, the animation will be played when the element is then first being part of the page. So the animation starts instantly. We can utilize this here. With animation, I can point at my modal animation here, give it a duration, ease out, and important, add forwards to tell CSS that the final state should be kept. And if we now save everything, when I click Show Dialog, we have this little animation here, as you can tell. And we have this animation because the animation is part of the dialog selector. So whenever this selector finds something on the page, and it will find something when the dialog is added to the page, which I do in app view in the end with vif on my custom component. The whole component is only added if dialog is visible is true, and therefore the dialog element in the component is only added under that circumstances. And therefore, whenever that is the case, this animation will be played thanks to that key. But the problems start if we also want to animate the removal of the element. If I want to do that, currently it disappears instantly. The problem we'll have is that the element is detached from the DOM. And that means there is no way to animate it with CSS. It's removed instantly. You can't play an animation and then tell the browser to only remove it once that animation is finished. But that is what you would need to do in order to animate the disappearance. And that's exactly what Vue is able to help us with. Vue can help us with animating the appearance and also the disappearance of elements by, for example, delaying the disappearance until a certain animation has finished.